Welcome to the University Network TV, where we scan the globe to give students, their families, educators, and employers the very best tips for student success. I'm your host today, Dr. Crystal Rose, and on today's show, we're featuring our series, Winning at Learning. On today's show, we're discussing online courses, something that has become forever a part of our new normal. The journal Inside Higher Ed reported that distance education has even increased up to 93% since COVID. And here today to walk us through is Gilbert Mendivil, the president of Connect and Place, one of the University Network's community partners.
It's a pleasure to be here. Let's get right into it. I'm excited to talk about today's topic.
Can you tell us what are some key tips that most students may not know when they're in online courses?
So the first thing I'll start off with is online courses are not for everybody. And it's honestly about knowing your limits, knowing what you're capable of, and knowing how much you could manage. The thing with online courses, I think the best advice, as a college student, we transitioned in the middle of COVID from in-person learning to online learning. And the biggest thing was you needed to stay on top of everything. In an in-person environment, you get those reminders, you get that feedback. But in an online environment, it's a little bit more self-management. So you need to do a lot of it on your own. Sometimes that means keeping a planner, keeping a calendar. And in very rare cases, you have people like myself that could maybe remember things really well. But again, it depends on your management style, how much reminders you need. Like I said, the best piece of advice for an online class is, again, being prepared, staying on top of things and making sure that you're aware of deadlines, projects that are coming up, and pace things at your own pace. Make sure that you're still doing well. You're getting those projects, those papers, that you're getting them done at a pace that's good for you. In most cases, I would say in an online environment, give yourself twice the time as an in-person environment. There's a lot that you need to keep track of. Deadlines, sometimes we may forget them. So keeping a planner, keeping a calendar, a to-do list, all of those things are very helpful for doing well online.
What shouldn't you do with online learning?
One of the biggest things with pet peeves is on an online course, especially is not communicating. Communication is what drives every human action that we do. And it also drives the success behind those actions too. As someone who's taught in an online environment before, who's experienced it not only as a student, but as a teacher too, communication is key. If you're struggling, if you need additional resources, extra help, always reach out to the person in charge of the class, or to somebody who helps out with the class, so a teacher's assistant maybe. Always keep in communication with your instructor. Make sure that you're getting the help that you need. Make sure that you're getting the resources that you need. Communication is key, and if you don't communicate, as we say, we don't know how to help you if you don't communicate. And that's from a teacher's perspective too. We can't read minds, unfortunately, although we would love to someday, if that is a capability that we could do. But as always, I encourage student teacher relationship to keep that tight. Always communicate with what you need. If you communicate and you're, as we mentioned before, if you're keeping up with the planner and to-do list, you're in great shape for taking an online course.
Something else can happen, which I'm hearing from a lot of students, burnout. So are there some tangible suggestions to prevent burnout from online learning experiences?
And from working in a virtual environment, it could go both ways, whether you're in school or whether you're in a work environment. Pacing is very key. Obviously, work to your own ability, work to your absolute capacity. Don't always force that capacity, but always know your limits. And one of the biggest things in an online environment is spacing things out, and it's very key. Burnout usually happens sometimes when we overestimate our limits. And sometimes, we love to say yes to things, saying yes to things and making ourselves happy or seeing others happy. It's awesome. But with burnout comes a lot of mental health issues as well. So knowing yourself a little bit better and knowing when to say no and how to space things out, really well, is key. It depends on you. Do the easy things first, save the hard things for later. Or if you want to do the reverse way, do the hard things first and then kind of give yourself a break as you go on. You could do it that way. But again, it's just pacing is one part of that. The other thing to avoid burnout is to do things you like too in between. Life is more than just work and school. There's other things to it. You have hobbies, you have interests, you have recreational things that you love to do on the side. Make time for those too. It's always about having that work-life balance, and this applies to students too, whether you're in high school, you're in college. Make sure that you're balancing everything out correctly. And burnout is still inevitable, whether you're in an online environment, in person. It's something that we all experience to different extents. But there's always ways to mitigate that. Spend time with your family, do something you enjoy doing, something that makes you relaxed and takes your mind off the stresses of work or school. And if you balance those things really well together, burnout will just seem like a thing that just happens every so often, as opposed to feeling that way every day or every month. No one should have to feel that way, but always manage it to things you love and the things that you need to get done.
It also sounds like self-knowledge is really key, and also to find coping strategies and really sort of mix it up. Well, this is great. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing these words of wisdom today, Gilbert.
Absolutely, Crystal. It was my pleasure. And to all the students out there, I wish you the best of luck. These are tough times, but pull through it and you'll do great.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the University Network TV. I'm your host, Dr. Crystal Rose. Until next time.